Welcome to The Debate. Welcome to Formally Ridiculous, the only place where we treat the absurd with the utmost academic rigor. Today we are analyzing, well, the profound, philosophical and evolutionary chasm between two theoretical states of superhuman existence.
A chasm that I must say is not merely hypothetical. It is a fundamental metric of the human soul.
Oh, undeniably, and it is a profound pleasure to dissect this with you today.
The pleasure is entirely mine, my friend.
Now, we must establish from the outset that we are not engaging in some parochial comic book dispute here.
Heavens no.
This is a rigorous, unforgiving intelligence test. It is a question of whether one wishes to carefully control the narrative of existence from the calculating shadows.
Or conversely, to dominate the physical stratosphere.
Precisely. Now, representing Source A, the Institute for Advanced Quietude and Quantum Discretion, I stand firmly in defense of invisibility. I maintain that quantum discretion is the thinking person's superpower. It is, well, the ultimate instrument of personal autonomy.
Right. The quiet approach.
Exactly. It offers a masterful, almost surgical detachment from the chaotic noise and the relentless demands of modern society.
I see the appeal, I really do. But stepping into the glaring light of truth as supported by Source B, the High Altitude Sovereignty Coalition, must champion flight.
Glorious ascension.
Indeed. And I champion it not as mere exhibitionism, mind you, but as the absolute realization of human potential. It is the mastery of three-dimensional dominance. I mean, to reject the sky is to reject progress itself. You are opting instead to remain tethered to the two-dimensional grid of crosswalks, traffic lights, and mud that entirely binds the pedestrian mind.
Well, that is a characteristically bold opening statement for essentially turns a human being into a highly vulnerable weather balloon.
A weather balloon? Let us unpack the foundational logic here. When we look closely at the underlying documents, Source A meticulously details how flight is categorized as unrefined extroverted vanity.
Oh, I wouldn't call it vanity. It is, quite accurately, a desperate, loud cry for attention. To desire flight is to desire to become a giant, hovering target for every eye and instrument below. Invisibility, by stark contrast, is the weapon of the strategist.
It grants total autonomy by reducing the unbearable friction of societal interaction to absolute zero. You circumvent the matrix entirely.
I hear your framing, I do. Yet I must counter by dismantling that very romanticization. Source B views invisibility not as a strategic advantage, but as, well, a tragic psychological coping mechanism.
A coping mechanism?
Yes, it is the refuge of the voyeur, the coward. The invisible man is essentially a damp silverfish scurrying under a bathroom tile the moment the light is turned on.
That is a rather harsh biological analogy, but an accurate one. Ascending into the sky, however, is the gilded vector of absolute linearity. It offers true, unadulterated physical freedom. It is about the profound ability to act as a sovereign nation of one, entirely untethered from the bureaucracy of the ground.
You make a fair point about the desire for physical freedom, I will concede that, but let us test these grand sweeping theories against the rigorous, unforgiving realities of daily human existence.
I welcome the application of practical mechanics. The ground is, after all, where your theory must inevitably walk.
Exactly. Let us begin with the mechanics of societal navigation, the physics of avoidance, if you will.
Right.
Think about the mathematical concept of social friction.
Yes.
The formula, of course, being F sub S equals P times T divided by D. Population multiplied by time over distance.
Naturally.
Every time you step outside, you are subjected to the spatial and social demands of the masses. Now imagine you're walking down a municipal sidewalk, and you perceive a high school acquaintance.
Oh, dear.
One who has recently become a wildly aggressive door-to-door insurance salesman.
A truly terrifying prospect.
Indeed. He is approaching on a direct intercept vector. Now how do you handle it? The flyer, burdened by their grotesque physicality and their need for spectacle, must awkwardly launch into the air.
I hardly think launching is awkward.
You create a disruptive gust of wind, you likely ruin your trousers, and you appear to the general public as a panicked maniac fleeing a conversation about premium term life rates.
A minor temporary inconvenience for the sheer majesty of claiming the sky, I assure you.
But compare that to the absolute elegance of the invisible solution by utilizing a localized photonic decoupling field, essentially bending light waves entirely around your physical body so that no reflection ever hits an observer's retina. You achieve surgical interpersonal evasion.
Surgical evasion. Right.
Yes, you simply step 2 inches to the left. The salesman walks past, whispering to himself, completely unaware. You are a ghost. You are entirely liberated from the oppressive tax of societal pleasantries. It is the definitive cure for the friction of modern life.
If I may interject, your analysis ignores a crucial detail.
I highly doubt it is a fatal flaw, but please proceed.
You are entirely omitting the architectural catastrophe of what Sourceby rightly terms the invisible doormat syndrome.
Doormat syndrome?
Yes. You argue that avoiding one solitary insurance salesman on an open sidewalk is a triumph. But that means absolutely nothing because you are perpetually subjected to the sheer spatial ignorance of the terrestrial masses.
I simply navigate around them.
But the world isn't built for people who cannot be seen. It is built entirely on visual cues. Because you are invisible, you are completely excluded from the spatial awareness of the physical world. The crowd does not bend to accommodate you. You must constantly dodge the world like a frightened rodent.
That is a severe mischaracterization of tactical maneuvering.
Is it? Let us look at the mechanics of public transit. If you step onto a crowded metropolitan bus while utilizing this supposed cure for social friction, you will be bumped into. You will be coughed upon. You will be trampled by every single commuter.
Well,
People navigate by seeing solid objects. You are a solid mass of roughly 180 pounds that no one can see. If you dare to sit in an apparently empty seat, a 250-pound linebacker will inevitably sit directly upon your invisible face.
good Lord.
Exactly. And you cannot scream and protest, for that would reveal your location and reduce you to the status of a paranormal freak. You must simply endure the crushing weight of human density.
I see why you might think that, but let me give you a different perspective. One would simply avoid the bus altogether. The city is vast.
Ah, so you take to the streets instead. This brings us to the very real street sweeper threat.
The what?
You are traversing a busy intersection feeling immensely smug about your undetectable nature. A distracted driver executing a right turn on a red light does not slow down. Why? Because, as you so proudly boast, you are literally invisible to their visual cortex.
Well, one still looks both ways.
They strike you at 35 miles per hour. Your intellectual superpower has successfully converted you from a living, breathing strategist into an invisible stain on the asphalt. Congratulations. By erasing your visual presence, you have erased your right to occupy physical space safely.
I have to admit, the realities of vehicular traffic do present a compelling logistical hurdle. However, I must question whether being a highly visible, airborne target is mathematically any safer.
Of course it is. You are above the traffic.
You frame flight as absolute sovereignty, but the myth of a safe sky is just that, a myth. You are not a god up there. You are essentially a giant, slow-moving piñata.
A piñata. I am sorry, that is utterly disrespectful to the aerodynamics of the human form.
It is aerodynamically accurate. Let us look at the realities of our hyper-vigilant, technologically saturated era. The moment you ascend, you are constantly triggering military anti-aircraft radars.
I fly beneath the radar.
Then you are sharing low-altitude airspace with automated Amazon Prime drones delivering dense, heavy packages of cat food at high velocities.
Well, one must be agile.
And let us not forget the paranoid suburbanites. If you hover over a residential neighborhood, you will inevitably be mistaken for a government spy drone or some hostile entity. You trade the danger of a distracted driver for the danger of a coordinated anti-aircraft response from a man with a shotgun permit.
Look, you point out the physical vulnerabilities of flight, and I will acknowledge that the sky has its hazards. But human beings have always overcome physical limits with technology to achieve something greater, which is dominance.
Dominance, right.
Yes. And that is where flight truly outshines invisibility. We must transition our focus from mere survival to the aesthetics of power, the projection of authority.
I am intimately familiar with the concept of power, though I suspect our definitions of how to project it will diverge wildly.
Let me set the scene for the godlike entrance matrix.
Oh, here we go.
Imagine a high-profile rooftop networking event in Manhattan. The cultural elite are mingling. Suddenly, a soft aerodynamic hum fills the ambient air. The clouds part. You descend from the heavens along the z-axis.
Very dramatic.
Historically, human biology is hardwired to view threats and saviors alike as coming from above. When you land softly upon your feet without so much as scuffing your designer footwear, the entire room falls into a dead, reverent silence. You have arrived like a classical myth brought to breathing life. Because you control the vertical axis, you control the primate brain, you control the room.
That is a profoundly narcissistic fantasy, I must say, though visually striking.
It is the ultimate generation of social and psychological dominance. And where, pray tell, is the invisible intellectual in this scenario?
Observing. Gathering data.
They are standing perfectly still in the corner next to a potted fern, holding their breath. And if they attempt to partake in the catered buffet, we encounter the grotesque biological reality of invisibility, which brings me to my ruthless deconstruction of your premise.
I brace myself for the inevitable biological mechanics.
It is unyielding physics, my friend. First, we have the naked textile paradox.
Ah.
Yes. A photonic cloaking field by biological necessity applies strictly to the living matter generating the field. Your bespoke tailoring, composed of dead wool and synthetic fibers, does not magically bend light. Therefore, to utilize your superpower, you must be completely, entirely, stark naked.
An oversight in modern tailoring, perhaps, but one makes do.
Imagine this in practice. It is a late January evening in Chicago. The ambient wind chill is -12 degrees Fahrenheit.
Quite brisk.
While the flyer soars above the city in a custom-engineered, thermally insulated aerodynamic suit, looking like a futuristic deity, the invisible man is shuffling down Michigan Avenue, completely nude. Your teeth are chattering uncontrollably, you are suffering from acute frostbite in unmentionable places, and you are constantly terrified you might accidentally brush up against a cactus in a hotel lobby.
That is a compelling argument. I will give you that. And I concede that the thermodynamic realities of winter present a unique challenge. But one generally utilizes discretion indoors.
Ah, but indoor environments lead to the second absolute collapse of your theory, the floating food bolus horror.
Oh, heavens.
Let us generously assume you are warm inside the penthouse. What happens when you consume sustenance? The moment a catered turkey sandwich enters your mouth and is chewed into a wet mass of food, it is no longer living tissue.
Technically true.
It falls outside the electromagnetic cloaking field. Anyone looking in your general direction will witness a half-chewed mass of poultry and bread suspended in midair, visibly sliding down the transparent tube of your throat, where it is then violently churned by floating pools of highly visible stomach acid.
A minor aesthetic drawback.
You are not a sophisticated spy. You are a walking, anatomical horror show that would terrify a seasoned gastroenterologist.
I must politely disagree.
Disagree with anatomy?
I disagree with the premise that your romanticized vision of flight somehow escapes catastrophic biological humiliation. You speak of windswept hair and designer shoes. Let us examine the actual physics of the human windshield effect.
The human farm is perfectly capable of adapting to velocity.
15 miles per hour without robust protection. Let us say you are cruising at a modest 60 miles per hour.
A leisurely pace.
Force equals mass times acceleration. At that speed, atmospheric debris becomes a series of high-impact projectiles. You are a high-speed, biological vacuum cleaner. Mathematics guarantees that you will swallow approximately 42 gnats, 3 cicadas, and a highly confused bumblebee every single mile you travel.
Well, one would simply wear a technologically advanced helmet.
A helmet completely nullifies the windswept, godlike entrance you just spent 3 minutes breathlessly describing. You arrive looking like a confused motorcyclist who lost their bike.
It is a practical necessity.
Furthermore, we have not even addressed the atmospheric lapse rate. For every 1,000 feet of altitude, the temperature drops by roughly 3.5 degrees Fahrenheit. To avoid standard air traffic, you must operate in a frozen wasteland. You will arrive at your destination exhibiting stage 2 hypothermia, frozen eyelashes, and blue thumbs.
Again, insulated flight suits exist specifically to manage these exact parameters.
But even if you are warm and helmeted, you cannot escape the evolutionary biology of territorial avian warfare.
Avian warfare?
The sky, my friend, is not an empty canvas for your ego. It belongs to the birds. And birds perceive airborne shapes via deeply ingrained evolutionary instinct.
You are comparing the absolute pinnacle of human evolution to a flock of pigeons?
I am stating a biological fact. A flyer entering the airspace of a flock of Canadian geese or navigating near a peregrine falcon nest will not be viewed with reverence. You will trigger a predatory alarm response. To the birds, you are simply a giant, fleshy rival.
They will scatter.
They will aggressively peck, relentlessly claw, and mercilessly bombard you with high-velocity avian excrement. I ask you, what shred of dignity remains when a supposed superhero is screaming in blind panic because a seagull is actively attempting to steal their sunglasses at 2,000 feet?
I am not convinced by that line of reasoning, mostly because you are focusing entirely on trivial biological nuisance. Yes, there are bugs. Yes, there are birds. But let us elevate this debate beyond mere physical discomfort.
I am ready to elevate.
If we accept that the physical world is treacherous for both states of being, doesn't that make the psychological realm the true battleground? Which state of being grants true, uncompromising mastery over the human condition?
I am thrilled you asked because that is where invisibility definitively triumphs. The ultimate prize isn't physical dominance, it is the truth matrix.
The truth matrix. Do elaborate.
Human beings are fundamentally, biologically incapable of honesty when they know they are being observed. It is a well-documented sociological phenomenon, the Hawthorne effect. We all wear masks. Flight merely gives you a bird's-eye view of asphalt shingles and chimneys. You see the world exactly as it prepares to be seen by a threat from above.
And what profound sociological breakthrough does invisibility offer, besides standing in a corner smelling of damp wool?
It removes the observer effect entirely from the quantum mechanics of social interaction. It is the ultimate panopticon, but you are the sole guard. By standing completely still in the corner of a political summit or a rival's living room, you gather the raw, unedited data of the universe.
Unedited data? Right.
You see what people do when they believe they are entirely alone. You know exactly what the generals are planning. You know the unvarnished morality of your peers. You become the omniscient author of reality.
I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that. I must academically scoff at this entirely voyeuristic triumph.
It is not voyeurism.
The fact that you equate the gathering of private, unobserved behavior to mastering the universe is profoundly telling. You are essentially hiding in a closet to learn secrets because you lack the authority to command the truth openly.
No. It is total liberation from the systems that control us. Think about the capitalist matrix.
The capitalist matrix?
Yes. We exist within a system designed to systematically drain our resources in exchange for mere access. The flyer is hopelessly bound by this matrix. You may possess the ability to fly to a secure facility, but you still must purchase a ticket to enter the VIP lounge or face security personnel.
A sovereign flyer does not concern himself with the arbitrary boundaries of VIP lounges.
But an invisible operator completely bypasses the fiscal footprint of existence. Consider international travel.
I do not need to burn thousands of calories combating high-altitude jet streams, freezing my extremities, and dodging geese.
You just walk onto a plane.
I simply bypass boarding security, locate an empty suite in first class or the crew rest quarter, and sip a complimentary Macallan 25 inside a climate-controlled cabin, completely hidden from the Internal Revenue Service and customs officials.
That's an interesting point, though. I would frame it quite differently. Your ultimate psychological triumph boils down to petty theft and eavesdropping.
I call it total fiscal liberation.
Well, it pales in comparison to what Source B terms the bureaucracy bypass.
I fail to see how flying fast negates the necessity of global infrastructure.
Because it renders the very concept of borders mathematically obsolete. Airport security becomes a relic of a bygone era, not because you sneak past it, but because you transcend it entirely. Passports are required only if terrestrial authorities possess the physical capacity to catch you, which they do not.
They have fighter jets.
Customs boundaries, those invisible lines drawn by terrestrial peasants to artificially divide the globe, mean absolutely nothing when you can cross the Alps at Mach 1. You are powered by sheer biological magnificence. Flight expands human consciousness across the horizon. You become a sovereign nation of one, operating in the lawless, breathtaking majesty of the open sky.
While swallowing gnats.
You are dictating the terms of your existence. Meanwhile, your invisible intellectual is quite literally trapped in a supply closet on a commercial airliner, desperately hoping no one sprays an aerosol air freshener in their direction and reveals their silhouette.
Well, it seems we have reached the fundamental impasse of our respective philosophies. As we bring this intense intellectual sparring to a close, we must reflect on the sheer weight of these two paradigms.
Indeed, the pace of our discourse has been appropriately rigorous, but our conclusions regarding human nature remain starkly opposed.
I maintain with the utmost academic certainty that the true victory lies in absolute discretion. To choose flight is to choose the life of a fireworks display. It is loud, it is flashy, it demands constant validation from those below, and it inevitably ends.
A rather cynical view of the stars.
To choose invisibility is to choose omniscience in the shadows. We control the flow of information. We see everything without altering the ecosystem, while the flyers are busy cleaning pulverized dragonflies out of their teeth. Discretion is not merely the better part of valor. It is the only logically sound choice for a sophisticated mind navigating a treacherous world. And I summarize the counterposition with equal certainty. Invisibility is a psychological regression. It is a desperate desire to crawl back into the dark, to abdicate the immense challenges and responsibilities of the universe by simply erasing one's physical presence.
It is strategic.
Flight is the evolutionary leap forward. It is the embrace of light, of speed, and of infinite, unyielding perspective. While the unseen observer cowers in the corners of rooms built by other men, we are touching the stars, we are commanding the horizon, and living as the undisputed authors of our own physical destiny.
We can perhaps both acknowledge that whether one chooses to completely avoid the social friction matrix through optical illusion or attempts to physically dominate the vertical axis through sheer force, the human condition remains hopelessly, beautifully complicated.
It certainly does. The desire to escape our limitations reveals just how much we struggle with them. There is always more to explore in these concepts, and further depths of human psychology to plumb.
Quite right. We leave the final verdict to you, our distinguished listeners. Subscribe if you have impeccable taste and zero desire to grow up. Until next time, stay formally ridiculous.